Cowboys fan, we might be witnessing the end of an era. Zack Martin, one of the greatest offensive linemen in Dallas Cowboys history, could be calling it a career. The question is, will he actually retire? Or does he have one more season left in him? Recently, Martin made some eye-opening comments about his future, hinting that retirement is on the table. And let's be real, after everything he's accomplished, 8 Pro Bowls, multiple All-Pro selections, and a future Hall of Fame jacket waiting for him, he has nothing left to prove. But if he does hang up his cleats, what does that mean for the Cowboys? Losing a player like Martin wouldn't just be a blow to the offensive line, it would change the entire identity of this team. We've seen how crucial he is in both the passing and running game, making life easier for Dak Prescott and Tony Pollard. So, if this is truly the end, the Cowboys have some serious decisions to make. But before we dive into what comes next, I want to hear from you. Do you think Zack Martin will retire, or will he give it one more go? Drop your thoughts in the comments and vote in the poll. We need to know what Cowboys Nation is thinking. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. We've got a lot to break down about the future of this team. If Zack Martin really does retire, the Cowboys are going to feel it, big time. And let's be honest, we already saw some signs of decline this past season. Martin battled through injuries, and while he was still one of the better linemen in the league, he wasn't quite the dominant force we're used to seeing. The Cowboys' offensive line as a whole struggled, and without him, things could get even worse. Think about it. Dak Prescott needs protection. The run game needs stability, and losing a veteran like Martin could create a hole that's nearly impossible to fill overnight. This also raises the question, should the Cowboys even try to convince him to stay? We've seen teams talk veterans out of retirement before, and Martin's leadership alone is invaluable. But on the flip side, maybe it's time to turn the page. Dallas has been needing a refresh on the offensive line for a while, and if Martin is on his way out, this could be the moment to rebuild. So, what do you think? Should the Cowboys push to keep Martin for one more season, or is it time to move on and invest in the future? Vote in the poll and let me know your take in the comments. And if you're enjoying the discussion, don't forget to hit that like button. It helps more Cowboys fans find this video. If Zack Martin really walks away, how do the Cowboys fill that massive gap in the offensive line? Well, they have a few options, but none of them are exactly perfect. First, there's the in-house solution. Guys like TJ Bass and Brock Hoffman have shown potential, but are they really ready to step up and replace a future Hall of Famer? That's a huge ask. The Cowboys could also shift Tyler Smith inside to guard. But that creates another problem. Who takes his spot at left tackle? Then there's free agency. Dallas could go out and sign a veteran to plug the hole. But let's be real. The front office isn't known for making splashy moves in free agency, especially on the offensive line. Still, there are some interesting names out there like Kevin Zeitler or Connor Williams, a familiar face. Would bringing him back make sense? And of course, there's the draft. The Cowboys could use an early pick to find their next long-term guard. But is it worth spending a first-rounder on a lineman, or should they focus on another position? What do you think? Should the Cowboys trust their current guys, sign a veteran, or go all in on the draft? Drop your take in the comments. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. We're diving into how the 2025 draft could shake things up for Dallas. The NFL draft is always full of surprises, but for the Cowboys, this year's decisions could shape the future of the franchise, especially if Zack Martin retires. According to ESPN's latest mock draft, Dallas is projected to take wide receiver Matthew Golden in the first round. Now, Golden is an explosive playmaker with serious upside. But here's the big question. Should the Cowboys really prioritize a wide receiver when the offensive line is in desperate need of reinforcements? Think about it. If Martin is gone and Dallas doesn't land a solid veteran in free agency, shouldn't protecting Dak Prescott, or whoever's under center, be the #1 priority? There are some talented linemen expected to go in the first round, guys like Graham Barton or Jackson Powers-Johnson, who could step in and contribute right away. But then again, maybe the Cowboys front office believes they can find quality offensive linemen in the later rounds. Maybe they see wide receiver as a bigger need with CeeDee Lamb's contract situation still unresolved. So, what's the move here? Would you be on board with Dallas taking Matthew Golden, or should they focus on shoring up the offensive line first? Vote in the comments, OL or WR. Let's see what the majority of Cowboys Nation thinks. And if you're enjoying this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button. Up next, we'll talk about potential draft day trades and how Dallas could shake things up even more. The Cowboys front office has some big decisions to make, and one thing is clear. Sticking at their current draft position isn't the only option. Could Dallas trade up to secure a top-tier offensive lineman, or maybe they trade down, stockpile picks, and find multiple contributors instead of just one? A trade-up scenario would likely mean targeting a premium talent like J.C. Latham or Taliese Fuaga, two linemen with immediate starter potential. But moving up costs draft capital, something the Cowboys don't have a ton of. Would it be worth sacrificing future picks to ensure a stronger offensive line? On the other hand, trading down could give Dallas more flexibility. Imagine picking up an extra second-rounder and still landing a solid guard or center, someone like Christian Haynes or Bo Limmer. The Cowboys need depth, and adding multiple players might be smarter than banking on one first-rounder to fix everything. So, what do you think? If you were in Jerry Jones's position, would you go all in and trade up for a top lineman? Or would you trade back, gain extra picks, and focus on building depth? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our final take on what life after Zack Martin could look like for the Cowboys. No matter what happens, one thing is certain. The Dallas Cowboys are entering a new chapter. Zack Martin has been a cornerstone of this franchise for over a decade, setting the standard for what it means to be an elite offensive lineman. If he decides to retire, it won't just be the end of an era. It will be a major challenge for the Cowboys moving forward. The front office must get this right. Whether through the draft, free agency, or internal development, Dallas cannot afford to ignore the offensive line. We've seen what happens when this unit struggles, and if the Cowboys want to compete for a Super Bowl, protecting Dak Prescott, or whoever the quarterback may be, has to be the priority. So, what's your prediction? Will Zack Martin retire, or will he return for one last ride? And if he does leave, how should the Cowboys replace him? Let's get the debate going in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more Cowboys analysis. We've got a long off season ahead, and trust me, there will be plenty more to talk about.